Given how tough the job market is right now for young people and university students, starting to build projects that demonstrate that you can hit the ground running when you get your foot in the door as, for example, a graduate engineer is how you're going to stand out. Also, this is helpful for people who aspire to study engineering at university. It's really good to have university level projects on your resume from early because they demonstrate so much about yourself. So in this video, I'm going to break down a simple project you could do around designing a bridge like the one behind me and the different angles you could take depending on what engineering discipline you're interested in. So I'm just going to cover two disciplines here, actually three: structural engineering, mechanical engineering, and then project engineering. Okay, so stay tuned. So with the structural engineering angle, a simple way you could turn this bridge into a project is to do a finite element analysis of static equilibrium. And then within that, there's sort of three different verticals you could look at. The first would be just studying elastic strain and how it varies with the cross-sectional area of a beam. Like, there's many different beams behind me. The second would be studying the shear force or bending moments in the structure. And then the third would be looking at deflections. All three of these are highly interrelated, and it's stuff you would cover in your first or second year of an engineering degree. There's no reason why you can't start modeling that from now, okay? So that's one project you could do. Now, what if you're interested maybe in mechanical engineering or fluid mechanics? What is something you could do? Well, with a bridge like this, when they designed it, they probably had to do a lot of analysis on the water flow around it, because the flow of water around it really plays an impact in its structural integrity. So you could build, for example, a computational fluid dynamics model of water around the bridge. Just one idea for a project could be, how does the geometry of the structure of the foundation impact the flow characteristics of the water around it? That's just one idea for a project, okay? And you could do a whole dissertation on that. The third one is slightly more commercial and tailored towards people who are maybe at university and want to go into the job market, but you're kind of worried you don't have anything relevant. Project engineering, having actually worked as one, is probably one of the most underrated fields and highly employable. So how can we turn this project for designing a bridge into something you can put in your portfolio to hopefully get an internship or job? Well, there's sort of three angles that a project engineer would look at when designing something like this. The first is the technical side. So this is where you actually flex your engineering knowledge. Draft a feasibility study out that will go into detail on the technical feasibility of constructing something like this. So that is your opportunity to really go into the underlying engineering principles behind constructing something like this. The second would be project management, okay? Now this is actually really interesting. This is where you can use AI tools like Claude to sort of maybe build a dashboard which gives you there's a train. You could build a dashboard in Claude, and the aim of the dashboard would be to give the project management team an overview of the KPIs of the project. So maybe what is the budget? Are we on budget or over budget? Are we on time or are we taking too long with it? Or any other KPIs relevant to a large engineering project like this, put it in the dashboard or build it with a no-code tool. You could do that with Claude very easily. Okay, and also make sure it's interactive as well, because when you put it, when you embed the link in your portfolio and you send it off to maybe an internship or grad job, you want them to be able to play around with the model. Okay. The third thing is actually financial/investment related, and as a project engineer, this is something I learned you have to be really good at. So the first thing would be building a techno-economic model. This is absolutely critical to something like this, because it's all fine if the engineering principles around it make sense, but if the bottom line is, if it becomes an unprofitable project, then there's no point. It will never get commissioned, okay? And that's why you see, large engineering projects sometimes get cancelled or postponed because they become a money sink. The first way you can avoid it being a money sink is by doing sound, proper techno-economic modeling. After that, you could do something called cost engineering. And I'll do another video on this, but basically one thing I learned in industry is when you do a project like this, you don't just say, here's the cost. There's actually different cost estimates, and you work your way towards converging to a very high level cost over time. So that's something you can start doing now. I don't know if civil engineering degrees are going into that detail, but having actually worked like on a daily, weekly basis with publicly listed EPC firms, I can assure you that the cost estimate is a massive decision, a massive factor in deciding whether to invest in a large project like this. So you could do a whole project on that, and I promise you that engineering leaders would actually be very impressed if you could come in to the door and have a sound understanding of cost engineering, its relevance as well. Okay, so that's just an overview of 3 different angles you could take. You don't need to do anything fancy, just go walk around and then get inspiration. Even as a different angle, like there's water behind me, you could do like a project on tidal or wave energy. Okay, there's a bunch of venture capital funds that have invested in tidal and wave energy projects. Just go to their website, see if there's an interesting portfolio company they have, and think, how can I build on top of this? Or maybe if the portfolio company is usually built out of deep research out of a lab. For example, I saw there was an article about a company, I think they were developing tidal energy, but usually tidal energy is like embedded in like the seabed, for lack of a better term. But theirs was basically like it was like a snake that floated on the water. So it's like a layer, and you just put it on the water, and as the waves flow, it sort of it harnesses that energy and stores it. That is based on deep research in a lab. So to round off my point, if for example you're looking for inspiration, go to a venture capital fund's website, go look at the companies, go look if any of the companies develop their MVP or initial product in collaboration with a university. Then go look at the university's IP page and see, have they released any, have they posted any patents or journal articles related to this that was then later commercialized. Then go in that patent or journal article and then go find at the end in the discussion section what the limitations are and gaps, areas for improvement, and then just go do a project on that. Okay, that's how you execute this. Hopefully that makes sense. Follow the page for more tips like this. We're running 2 different programs. We have a pre-university program, so people who just finished A-levels and they want to get ahead of first term. We're doing foundational modules for all STEM courses. Then we're also doing project building for both undergraduates and A-level international baccalaureate students. So if you ever want to break into an internship or grad program, or just get into a top educational institution, having a great project will only help your case. So DM us Edge or go to our website actually, and we'll be in touch. Good luck.